to the questions if we're ever caught drunk.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Are we we're recording?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're ready to go.
Hold on, I gotta get my prep here. It's gonna be fun.
You know the worst part about growing out your beard again and like getting it super long? Is every single time you get out of the shower, you have like that. Yeah. I'm still like syringing my beard, getting the water out.
Hilarious.
I literally was like power showering because I had to go pick up the kiddo, and then like I got home and took a quick shower right before. I still have water in my beard. I just felt the drip.
All right, here we go.
Let's go.
God, my voice is sound like a
Dude,
13.
me and you
I
both.
sound like a 13-year-old. It's a complete mess right now.
Well, at least it's not the lost voice again.
Right, also that.
Which, by the way, everybody loved that comment, by the way. Dick.
Right. All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Pardon the Distraction. I am your host, DJBLUEPDX, here with the other host. It's TheLostDrake, and we're being joined by none other than iPuppy. Hi. Okay.
Hello.
Nope. We normally have applause, but we don't have those turned on today.
Yeah, right.
Because,
I know, right? Yeah.
Because I turned...
Yes, all the things, yes.
And I turned my phone down, finally.
No alerts
today.
during the podcast for a change?
Yeah, it's like been a 6-week process. So, yeah, well, listen, old habits die hard.
Right.
And I'm one of those people who does not run around with my phone on vibrate constantly. Mom, talking to you. It's in your purse.
I don't
you
even
feel
have
it vibrate.
I don't even have either on. I don't even have my alerts or vibrate on. I just check it periodically.
Yeah, well,
I find it comforting to hear the sound of my phone going off.
Yeah. Yeah, I thoroughly agree. It's like suddenly somebody wants to talk to me. I feel great.
Nice.
Well, let's start with so Tuesday was National Coming Out Day, and October 11th is the day for it. And we were going to do the show then, but then we got rescheduled. So we're here today celebrating National Coming Out Day, and joining us as our special guest, of course, is iPuppy. We actually got to meet and hang out at DreamHack Dallas, where I got my first dose of the puppy community, and thought it was absolutely great. So you've been going on streaming for about 2 years. How did you get into it? And tell us a little bit about your channel and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a variety streamer now. When I first started, my it was kind of like a 2-month process of me actually starting to stream, because my brother was like, "You should stream. You should stream." And I'm like, "I'm not into that." He was like, "You're gonna be so good at it." And finally, I was like, I'll start streaming, but I'll only continue if you build me a computer. And so I started on my MacBook Pro.
That's awesome.
And I had a capture card for $30 from Amazon, and I hooked it up to my PlayStation 2, and I just went for it. And then I hooked it up to my Switch, and I started playing what was that game? It's kind of like Fork Knife, but it's like
Apex Legends.
You have like superpowers. It was really
Spellbound?
Yeah. Spellbreak.
Got it.
Spellbreak. Yeah.
Or Spellbreak. Yeah.
And you get gauntlets and everything. So I would play that nonstop. And that's kind of how I started going. And then it just kind of developed over that and made friends. And I just kind of got sucked into staying. Everyone was like, "You're not leaving now." So I'm here.
Nice.
That
game was fun. That game shut down though, didn't it?
No, it's still going.
Oh, it's still going.
They have a battle pass out now and everything.
Nice.
I kind of get out of it because I got into Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Right.
DJ's nope, not me.
I was in it. That's how I ended up getting. My rise to wherever on Mixer was all thanks to the wonderful world of the.
That is true.
The 2-week game.
Yeah.
Because of the Fortnite.
Wow, the 2-week game. This game.
Yes. Yeah. So and then I realized I've got to stop this because I'm tired of being told to go myself by a bunch of 12-year-olds.
I mean, that's actually where we met too. So I mean, it all panned
Well,
out. I mean, we met literally harassing parents and 12-year-olds that were going into a tournament. So you know, it
Yeah.
worked out. And you
It's funny
squeezing your cock.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I
Out
was-
of context, you were like, wait,
oh.
what? Wait, that
Wait,
didn't go together. But no, it literally, yeah, no, his rubber chicken. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, literally going in little kids' ears. Yeah, that sounded really wrong out of context, but you know, it works.
by
out.
cock he meant rubber chicken, which I have tons, and I got 3 more given to me by fans at TwitchCon, which was
That
absurd.
is cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
got quite
it
a
was-
few of those. He's got an
it was
army,
wild.
army of cocks.
And I mean that all started on
Yes.
Mixer, and it was a joke, and then I just kind of took the joke a little too far, and it became part of my brand. And if I don't have a chicken with me, everybody's like, "Where's rubber chicken?" Like,
You know,
all
the
right,
best
so I gotta
reaction
carry
to
it
that
with me.
whole thing was the context, and then literally Puppy's been, whoa.
What kind of a show am
What
I
kind
on
of show
right
did
now?
I just get on? I can't
What
do
did
this
I-
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So let's migrate over. You've got a new show that you are on with several other puppies. That I've seen you.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Power Rough Pups. Yeah,
Yes.
so I was like, my own personal brand is definitely very like focused on the queer community and the kink community, and kind of normalizing that kind of space where it's not just a sexual matter. So as I was like going into that with my own personal brand, I was like, oh, I also want to do this like side project where I can kind of give back into the community. And we're not necessarily a nonprofit, but we are using all the funds over at that channel to like buy pup hoods for other pups that might not be able to afford it. Because while you don't necessarily need gear to be a pup, a lot of it's nice to have that like identification when you're going out to events and stuff. And so yeah, that's what we're doing.
Nice.
So 2 things. One, so I was at an event last year right about this time, and I was going to the bar clearly, and in
how
this
all of
giant
our
coronation,
stories
it was really elaborate and gorgeous hall where we're all at, and there was a martini station, and so I went over to get a martini, and there's a guy that says Pacific Northwest or PDX Pups and Handlers.
Oh
And-
yeah,
Yeah, and I walked over and was like, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "I didn't know there was a Pups and Handlers group." He's like, "Of course there is." I said, "I have 2 Great Danes." And he said, "You might want to ask someone about that, but that's not exactly how this all rolls." And he turns around and he's got strapped to his belt his hood. And I went, "Oh." And he was kind of very dismissive at that point of like, "You're obviously an idiot." So and I'm like, "All right, cool. Neat." I was dumb.
That's
So-
awesome. That's awesome
but-
because there are like big, huge groups in like most major cities.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Of pups. Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
especially in Scottsdale. There's in Arizona, because I worked in the club industry for many years, and there's nothing I haven't seen or been introduced to. And it's
true.
funny too, because like me being, you know, the straight white guy, like I literally go out and like all my friends, you know, they would just take me randomly, and all of a sudden we'd end up in, you know, a gay bar, and we would all of a sudden be hanging out. And it's just funny because like so many people are like either one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like they'll go in and they'll
yeah.
really enjoy it, and they're like, "What the hell?" and they'll want to know more, or they're just like, "Oh, I don't want nothing to do with this. What the hell am I in?" But you know, like honestly, it's to me, it's even funny because like you know, one of my best friends, you know, he lived in upstate New York, so there's nothing up there. I mean, it's literally a lake, some forest, and a couple houses, and a bunch of very Republican
People who invested in property.
yeah, a bunch of very Republican people up north. But just in general, like he came to Arizona, and after that, and then he's gone to a couple PAXs, and you actually met him too. And it's just so funny that Zeke,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
Zeke-
he's cool.
yeah,
He's-
no, Zeke's
he's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
cool.
But it's just
Yep.
funny because he'll start drinking and his personality comes out. And it's so because he's not used to being around people that he can just express himself and be himself, which is really nice. We're actually thinking about this weekend. I'm not going to say where because I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Yeah,
he has no
and
idea.
he doesn't know. He asked
has
me if
no
I knew. I was
idea.
like, nope, I'm not saying shit.
Yeah, so we're all
yeah.
taking him out, and because he doesn't even know about the scene here in Arizona, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna surprise him. And so because working in the club industry, like my friends are like, oh, this is where you need to go, this is what you need to do, and
Absolutely,
and so he's gonna he's gonna have
He's
a blast
gonna have a
this weekend.
blast.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
So I do want to cover for one thing, and this was because you had such a great and eloquent way of stating it and explaining it when we were in Dallas, because I was honestly curious. So for those who don't understand or want to know more about pup play, explain a little bit about how this works and what it is we're talking about.
Yeah, so well, there's a lot of ways we can go down this road. But,
It's all right. It's part of the D. Just go off.
Literally. Oh yeah, I only use the button for comedic relief. You can say whatever the fuck
pretty
you
much.
want on
Yeah,
the
we
show.
both have it, but we don't
cool,
ever
cool.
use it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the first way to actually like get into pup play, or if you're interested into pup play, the best thumb of rule is to like do some research. Go to What's the Safe Word on YouTube. Like check their videos out. They have a lot of good informational kink videos, and that's kind of where I started. And then get involved with your community. Wherever you are, there are probably other people that are pups or other kinksters. Even if they're not pups, they'll still have some information for you, and that's when you can start dipping your toes in and going for it. Pup play is really all about what you make it, and it doesn't have to be a specific thing. I think a lot of people like look at the gear and they're like, oh, I might be into this, but then they're afraid of getting into it because they're like, oh, there seems to be like a lot of rules or a lot of lingo that you have to stick to, or like, and no, it's not like that. It's like you get to make it what it is for you, and then join a community full of people that don't judge and they love you for who you are. So
Noise.
Awesome. And as a dog person, somebody just yelled at his dog because there's a squirrel outside. I can hear it. Yeah, it's
So random.
I was immediately fascinated. Plus, sorry, squirrel.
Yeah. Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah, this is why I feel like I might belong to the pup community. I'm spastic, like they just kind of all over the place. So one of the things that I noticed about the pup gathering that we went to in Dallas was how expressive, and we've talked about this, but how expressive the hoods are. It's not just, hey, here's my stock standard. There is personality and all sorts of different designs and styles that you can use or create in order to adapt or adopt into a specific almost breed.
Yeah, so people like that's why I really get irked, and like a lot of pups do, when you call like their hood like a mask, because mask you see at Party City and everything, and it's just like not a term that we really use. Plus hoods are expensive, so we give it the term hood, and it's more personal for the pup. When you do get to customize it with your favorite color or like different styles that we have now. I mean, there's tons of crazy stuff that you can do with hoods now. And it is really personal because you get to express yourself. You get to get into that pup space. A lot of pups have like a separate kind of persona with their pup. For me, like I feel the same in and out of hood, so I'm very similar to my persona as a pup. I don't feel differently, but a lot of people have to get into a specific headspace in order to partake into pup play. Just kind of like let go of all of like any like reasoning as a human and just kind of go into that animalistic pup space.
I think that's one of the things that I was so intrigued about was the concept of a head kink.
Mm-hmm.
It was a brand new, completely new concept for me.
You kind of get to let go though. Like you get to let go of like worries and like, oh, I have emails tomorrow. Oh, I've got to do this. It's like you're a puppy now. So you get to lay down and get belly rubs and like have the best of every world. So
that is true. That is true. And you're a pup, obviously in Seattle.
Mhm.
That's okay to say.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that's where we saw you up at PAX, and you got to meet my friend Dan, and you got to meet Zeke, and it was a really fun event. So how long have you been part of the pup scene, and what are some of the events that you go to?
So, I actually haven't been to any actual kink event, like, when it comes to convention and everything. I think that's my goal next year is, like, to go to some of these, events. I actually just came out as a pup, like, last year.
Oh wow, okay.
So I'm only like a year in, and it's crazy. But I shifted all of my like Twitch brand to, and that started as my pup space. I was like a puppy on stream, and I was like, this is where I can kind of test it out, see if it's for me. It was very much for me. And then I started dancing, I went out my first time because I recently moved to Seattle. I went out one of my first times to a club, and they were like, "Do you want to dance?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I used to dance in San Diego." Um, let's go.
We
And
were just
they were like, will you dance? And I'm like, yeah, I'll dance, but I'm only going to dance in my pup gear, because it's important for me to like dance outside of events and outside of leather and puppy events and kink events, because then you can start to normalize and like make other people feel comfortable. Like it sucks to like be a puppy, and especially in certain areas, and not feel like comfortable just going out in your pup gear. So when I do travel, like I went to DreamHack, and when I do travel, I take my pup gear with me, and I make it a point to go out in my pup gear to see if I can find other pups and like encourage them to feel free to be themselves, but also like help the everyone else like normalize the situation so they're
Yeah.
not like, oh, this is weird, like I feel uncomfortable, and so forth. Yeah.
I think
yeah.
also too that's the big thing is that like just it almost even like being a content creator, discoverability, letting people being able to express themselves, because even when you get in front of a camera or you go on a stage or you dance or you're up in a bar just being a drunk asshole, because we've all done that. But no matter what you do, unwinding and just being able to be yourself, like sometimes it takes a while to do that, especially in front of other people, because obviously booze always helps, but sometimes it's one of those things too where it can also have the reverse effect where it can make you look like a complete and utter asshole. So at the end of it, like, no, that's awesome that you're doing that, because everybody needs to have their place. Everybody needs to be able to feel comfortable where they're at and what they're doing, and if they don't, then what's the point of us even fucking being here? You know what I mean? Like that's
Right.
that's just straight up
100%.
about it.
It's hard too, because like inside even inside of our own like community, our own queer community, we still like kind of attack each other in some instances. Like we have
It's
these groups
horrible.
that you have to be like a certain way, and
Yeah.
like even like Seattle, like I hardly go out without my pup hood on. So I go to the store sometimes and I'm like, I see all these people and they have no clue who I am, but I put my pup hood on, and they know exactly who I am. They're like, "Oh, hey puppy, like what's up?" Like and I it's just like yeah, really important to like just go out there and just make a space. And like I go to brunch, the drag queens are like, "Oh my god, puppy's here." Like, and not even going with other pups, right? I go with like people that aren't pups, and hang around and just like meet new people, fish into their groups. If everybody is comfortable, then more pups will come out. So
Yeah.
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 Well, and you're not just a content creator on Twitch, you've also got over 20,000 followers on TikTok. How has the response been on both of those platforms?
yeah, so surprisingly, I think this is kind of the catch 22. One, great. It's really awesome to like the response and people. I found so many other pups out there in the world. Some people message me and they're like, "Hey, I have some questions about pup play." And so I get to have like those conversations with them and like give them what's worked for me, and also advise them like, it might not work for you, but you need to find out
Yeah.
what's going on for you. But also I've noticed like being on TikTok, being in Twitter, and I think there are a lot of content creators that will just grab whatever is trending
Yeah.
in the moment, or they're
Yeah.
seeing that it grabs the views, and so it really pulls away from the kink community. And I think that that's kind of for me, it's kind of sad, because it's like I know some kinksters and they're really awesome people. They're lovable and they're friendly and they're like trying to push out their content. But then you have like these other people that are just there for growth, and while they're representing in a good light, you know, it's still not genuine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, it's like a catch-22.
Yeah. Well,
See,
it's
well,
if you're
go ahead.
trend
DJ.
chasing,
Yeah.
trend chasing has a habit of, I would say, downplaying or just diminishing authenticity. And
Yeah,
it's
100%.
so frustrating because if you're not willing to chase the trends, growth and visibility and exposure become just that much more difficult.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I you know, and that's I mean, I may jump into a very murky water by saying this, but I'm just going to. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm bringing up the topics because you know a lot of people too say that a lot of people put the LGBTQ plus just to get recognition to grow, or they're an ally.
Oh yeah.
And you know what, like. Here's my perspective on it, and you know, and this is definitely something that I have noticed over many years. You know, I have so many people of the LGBTQ plus community, and that you know I've known for years, and we all go out, we all party, we all hang out, we don't give a shit what anybody's sexual orientation, what they look like, what they're into. We don't give a shit. We just hang out and have a good time, and you know, there's no sense of claim. You know, there is no sense
there's
of
no box.
Yeah, it's there's we just be us and we don't give a shit. Like we just have fun and enjoy each other, and at the end of the day we go home, we're still people. Like, and that's also the big thing that I think in this world and day and age, there's two sides to the coin, right? There's the very PC people that are super sensitive, that even the smallest thing triggers them, or they try to cancel you, or you know, it's just we're getting in a weird generation where everybody is going out and trying to claim everything as their generation or who gives a shit? Just be you. Just be you. Enjoy
100%.
it. And I think also too, like even for me, you know, am I an ally? Do I support people? You know, yes, 100%. Be you. You know what I mean? But am I gonna go put it up as a tag on every single post to try to grow, to bring people of the gay community into my channel? No, just be you. I don't give a shit about that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so many people, like you said, trend hunting, like they'll do it because, oh, you know, right now kink is in, you know, or, you know, being a puppy or whatever the case may be, or it drives me nuts when people do that. And I've noticed it as a content creator. People will jump into these trends because there are people in the drag community. I mean, shit, Tonzi is a prime example of that, who has been slammed, beat up, and just applied for partnership again. You know, and that's amazing. Yes, I know. I'm so excited about it. Yeah, Tons just literally posted it today. Applied for partnership again today. Hard ass work pays off. No matter what you are, no matter where you're from, no matter what you believe in, no matter your sexual orientation, as long as you work fucking hard, you're gonna earn it. And that is just the fucking truth. And So go ahead, DJ.
I got to see Tonzi at PAX at the Logitech partner party.
I didn't see her.
And it was so fun because Tonzi used to live like 5 minutes from me.
Yeah.
And so and it was hilarious when we figured out, wait, we live next to each other? What? And then Tonzi moved. Sad panda.
I actually moved. When I met them on Twitch, I was like, who are you? Because they came into my channel. I gave them a shout out and I was like, hold up, like cancel stream right now. I need you to start streaming because I want to see what you're all about. And they are absolutely amazing. I like literally die at my desk watching them. Like, they're so funny.
Tonzi and me have been friends for 5 years now. You know, and the ups and downs, like every single time Tons comes into Arizona, like we go grab lunch, and you know, and even if it's work related, and that's why I was so fucking sad that we didn't get to hang out when they were here. So it's one of those things. It just, you know, there's so many people that work their ass off, and I want them to succeed and I want them to grow, and people downplay it because they're better, or you know, and especially in the LGBTQ plus, you know, like that's one of those things where people battle each other. There's so much negativity, and it doesn't need to be that way. Everybody's got to be better than everybody. It's just fucking just
we can all be good together.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't get it.
Together.
And if I flip onto the far side of that, where my brand has always been just my shoutcasting, my DJing, you know,
We've
who
had
I'm
these
representing at the time.
conversations, DJ. We've
I
had
know,
these conversations.
and there are people who have said both directions that either I don't fit the bill for being what people think of
Mm,
as traditional gay,
Yep.
and then the other people are like, you need to be more on the other side of the fence. You need to keep bang away at having the LGBTQIA plus monikers everywhere you can, so
Yeah.
people know. Otherwise, people won't figure it out,
You're not gay
See,
enough.
which
It's
is
like,
bizarre to me.
Yeah,
right,
it's
and
weird.
that's like the whole point we need to get away from. We don't need to be chasing a trend, but we also don't need to like have to like label it on our foreheads. You
Yeah.
can
Bingo.
be who you are no matter where you are on the spectrum, if you're an ally or not. Like, I honestly, if you're an ally and you're going out every weekend with your gay buddies and you're partying it up, throw that. I would not be upset if you threw that tag up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think that it hits me when I see like pup play or like the gay baiters on TikTok,
Oh God,
and
yeah.
they're clearly like that they're. And you know what's even worse? What's even worse is we we as a community and gays, you hear me, like, you watch that video and you like that video. You encourage those guys.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
absolutely encourage those guys. And so we're doing it. It's like this weird cycle where we're doing it to ourselves and we're not giving ourselves the respect that we should give. And we're not giving our community the respect that we should give it and supporting the people that are actually queer and supporting their true, genuine content.
Yeah. I completely, thoroughly agree. It's a very interesting caveat, and it's a frustrating conundrum because there's not really
Here's my phone.
a right or wrong answer to it.
Yeah.
So, in honor of coming out month, of National Coming Out Day, I was thinking, I mean, I don't feel like you all qualify for this one, Drake, but
Well,
how? There you go. How was, if you're okay talking about it? How did you come out?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one, I would like to say there's always a type of coming out story, so I'm sure you have a coming out story, Drake. But for me, I have actually never came out, which is not to kind of like go really on the low side here, but like my parents passed away, my family passed away when I was younger, and so like growing up I never really had like some kind of expectations that I had to be something. And so I play with it a lot in my head, and like I have like I try to like look at the silver lining of things, and when one of those silver linings is like I could kind of grow up in with that freedom of really knowing and being true to myself always. I remember the first person to ever ask if I was gay, and I immediately was like, yeah, but it was like so like matter of fact, kind of like it felt like another question, like, is the sky blue? Yes. Like, am I gay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never really had to come out. I think the first time that I felt like I did have to come out was when I came out as a pup, because that was terrifying. And I've heard all of my friends' coming out stories, and I've been with a couple of people as they have come out and been their support. But me coming out as a pup was definitely like terrifying, because I first tried to do it. And it wasn't received very well. And then when I moved to Seattle, I was like, I'm just gonna blow the lid off. As I meet new people, I'm immediately like, I'm a pup, like, because I lost friends. I lost people that were very like, oh, you're a furry now, blah blah. Like they were just like, also pups and furries are two different things. However, they bleed into each other. Both communities are really wonderful. I love furries. They're amazing. But I just people didn't really get it, and so a lot of my friends in San Diego, or just like from like the different places, like South Carolina, I used to live there, they just like deleted me off of social media. They were like,
Wow.
nope, absolutely not.
Interesting. That's interesting. But I mean, that it makes more sense. I mean, sorry about the way that it happened, but also being able to not have to worry about the social dichotomy of be growing up, especially if you have religious parents, or if like I came
Right.
from a very Baptist household, and so it was, and It was
You have this expectation. I like see this in other people, and I see this in other dynamics. They have like this expectation to not fail, whether they get along with their parents or not. They still
Yeah.
don't want to upset or fail their family, or like, be different from what the social norm is. I also, growing up, I moved around a lot. I moved around to a lot of different states, and so I never really also had like a group of friends. So I didn't have that group of friends to fail either. Like I
Yeah.
just was kind of like, oh, I'll make more friends. I yeah, it was different, and I would love to change a few things, but I also like take kind of a little joy in like how I did, like how the situation was, like make lemonade out of lemons. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah.
Well, and it's I have a little bit different scenario. Actually, it's kind of it's an interesting story because and I'll share it with you guys because it's actually, I mean, this is what it's about. It's about kind of being on me being a straight male. It's like, what the fuck do I know? And but here's the funny thing though, is I actually know a lot more than most straight males because I didn't even know gay was a thing. I didn't even know the LGBTQ plus. I didn't know any of that until I was 15 years old. And the reason why is because I grew up in a house where everyone around me was straight. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't look at people differently. But the reason why I really found out about it is actually it led to kind of a tragedy. But one of my friends, when I was 15 years old, both his parents were from Australia. They moved here. And his dad, very, very successful. He actually used to fix arcade machines, and he used to go around the country and basically fix arcade machines. So we always used to go over to his house and he would always have like all the cool stuff. And that's why I love arcades, actually, is because of them. But during this time frame, 15 to 20, most of the time that's when you hear the coming out stories, is right around that time frame. For most cases, at least from my experience, it's trying to let their parents know. Well, my friend, and just to protect him and his family, because this story is pretty gnarly. He basically started diving into drugs because he was so afraid to tell his parents. He was deathly afraid. He started getting into crystal meth, and he started going into cocaine, and he started like going to parties, and he started like, he would experiment and go to different groups because he didn't really know what he was feeling. And I remember like trying to be his friend and trying to understand. And I was like, well, why don't you just go hang out with people you like? Like, are you gay? Are you bi? Like, and he's like, I don't really know. I kind of like everybody. And back then, if you think about it, like when I was 15 years old, I don't even think there was an LGBTQ plus. Like everybody was still trying to figure out how to, like, I guess, I mean, and I'm doing this in bunny quotes because like label it, I guess, in a weird way, is like everybody was afraid to come out then because it was a totally different time.
Well, yeah, to
you know
put
what
it in
I mean?
perspective, we're talking late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
We're
like late
that era.
90s. Yeah, well, it was middle 90s, but still, like back then, it was like, because I'm turning 40 this year, so
fuck! I did not realize I was that much goddamn older than you.
Yeah, you old man. It's fine.
Jesus Christ!
but look, when you have this,
well, I'm
beard,
always the oldest guy in the room.
Like
God damn it!
Every single time, nobody ever thinks I'm 40 because I act like a giant child, but that's besides the point. But no, like basically he started diving into drugs and started like trying to experiment, and he was kind of playing around. He had a boyfriend, but when he started dating and he started like diving in, he started doing more and more drugs, which led to, I mean, obviously, when you start going down that gateway, he started getting DJ, as well. It's one of those things where it's like he started getting so deep. And like, I remember one time I walked in to his boyfriend's apartment, and he still had not came out to his parents. He was still like deathly afraid of it. And I remember he was sitting in the corner and he was smoking meth out of a fucking light bulb. And I walked in and I'm like, bro, I'm like, come to Jesus moment. Like, I was like, bro, and we're not religious at all, but his parents were Mormon. That's also the other thing I'll leave.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. So that was also is a religious thing also, that if he came out, he would be disowned, you know? So he was in the corner. I'm like, bro, I don't give a shit. I'm like, I got to get you the fuck out of here. Like, I don't even care, because his boyfriend was also a heavy drug user too. So it was just a very toxic environment for both of them. And his boyfriend ended up going to rehab, which drove him into a whole nother spiral. And then so he actually ended up staying with me, and my parents fucking hated him because he was stealing stuff also. Like, he would steal stuff. He was that meth kid. Yeah. He basically started stealing stuff. So he started stealing stuff from our house. And then I would get pissed. We got in a couple fist fights. Like, it was such a weird relationship, but I was just trying to help him. Well, we were, God, how old were we? I think 17. So this happened for about 2.5 years. And me and my best friend at the time, because it was kind of us three. It was, all of us. We all moved in together. And we were all hanging out, and all of a sudden, he's like, hey, I'm going to leave. And he was hanging out with like these really sketchy kids, and we were like, and he started like straightening out his life, and he had a boyfriend, and he was happy, but he still hadn't came out, and he was like trying to figure it out. And he's like, you know what? Like, I'm going to go hang out with these guys. I'm going to come back, and then I think I'm going to tell my parents. And I remember this moment like we were sitting on the couch, and we're like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? He's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't care if the Mormon church disowns me. I don't give a fuck. Like, I love the church. I love my family, but I gotta get this off my chest. Like, I can't do this anymore. I don't feel like me. And we're like, dude, we got your back. Just like fucking do whatever you gotta do. Do it. We'll be there. If they fucking kick you out, you're already living with us, so who gives a fuck what they think? Just do you, And I remember he went out, and this is why it becomes tragic. He went out, and he was hanging out with this guy that we all fucking hated. We didn't like him, and it was kind of his drug dealer. But he went out, and they were stealing copper out of houses, and he was basically taking it to Mexico, selling it, getting money for drugs and other things. And he went out with his friends, and we got a phone call the next morning. He basically went into a live electrical box, high as shit, and got electrocuted so badly. And the guy that was with him, instead of knocking him off the electrical box, left him. And the lightning or the electricity came out of his ass and out of the side of him and out of his neck. Killed him, cooked him right there on the spot. Then this is how much more fucked up. He didn't even get to come out to his parents. That's why he was building up the courage to do it. And then the very next day, they were like, hey, you know what? Like, we're going to get the funeral. Me and my best friend and his friend as well, we basically told them what was going on and why he was doing drugs. And they were like, no, he is not gay. Like, you don't even know our son. They basically banished us from hanging out with all of his siblings. Like, we were like, what the fuck? And then what was even worse is when the funeral happened a week later, half of his neck and his face, they did an open fucking casket.
Wow.
Like, they were so just, it was so
completely
infuriating.
oblivious to.
But that, if that isn't a story to fucking tell from just being a friend, don't ever forget your friends. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Always support them. Always have their back, because you could lose somebody over something so stupid that they just wanted to be themselves and they couldn't. And that fucking sucks, So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And to go on to put into perspective, so for mine, I never once thought anything about it. I assumed that all boys liked other boys. That was just the way it was. And then you got older and you married a girl and you somehow had kids. Otherwise, I was that oblivious to what was going on in the world around me. And, Oh yeah, no, like worst case scenario in 7th grade, and I think I've told this story to both of you before, but 7th grade, I remember we were in our sex ed class and all the girls were in one classroom, all the boys were in another classroom, and they were doing the whole thing with the slides and whatnot, and they said, do you have any questions? And of course, all the guys are just uncomfortably not making eye contact with each other. And I raised my hand because I had an honest question, and I said, are you sure about this? He said, I have 2 kids by this method. I'm pretty sure this is how it works. Why do you ask? I said, because it never would have occurred to me. Like, never would that have ever occurred to me. And every head in the classroom turned to look to me, and that was when they figured it out, and I didn't know until ages later. But
That you still had hair.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely had hair then. Yeah, no. So I accidentally kissed. Well, not accidentally.
Accidentally.
One of the other guys.
Accidentally, yeah. There's the bunny ears right there.
There's the bunny
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
Because I was a dancer at the time, and we went to a summer technical weekend for just technique. It was basically we were practicing. I think mostly it was turns and tosses. But I remember my friend, who's still my friend to this day, Edward, kissed me, and I did not stop him. But I also freaked out. Drove my car to my dance coach's house at like 2:30 in the morning, and he comes downstairs, and his roommate is also upstairs. Didn't even put 2 and 2 together. And that was when they said, well, you realize that there's a reason why his bed is always made. It's because we're partners. I'm like, oh my God, they're everywhere. And, oh yeah, no, I panicked and just bawled in tears. And awesome. Scott's over here like, Jesus, David. Okay, apparently I'm going to make coffee because we're going to be up for a while with this one. And, oh yeah, no, I came unglued. And so I had to think, okay, who gets laid? Who gets laid by women? Who gets pussy? Sailors get pussy. I'm going to go into the Navy. I could not have been more mistaken in my train of thought.
More wrong.
Ever.
More wrong.
So it wasn't until
Extremely wrong.
It wasn't until I was in the Navy that I had a couple of really good friends that were very much okay with me being who I was. And I tried to ride the bisexual train for a hot second, made out with a girl and was like, nope. My friends even bought me a hooker. And she and I basically ordered pizza and watched movies. That was all we did.
We didn't do that too, which is the best part.
And of course, she told the guys, she was like, yeah. He was fine. He was good. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
hit the guy.
Okay. Right?
So
when I got out of the Navy, I went back home. And of course, I showed up back in Portland, having come back from the East Coast with bleached hair. My ears are pierced. My tongue is pierced. And, walked into a house of exceptional high quality intolerance. And it's like top shelf level intolerance. And that lasted for about 2 weeks before my mom called me on it. And I told her. And as soon as I said it, there was just a wave of relief. And suddenly I wanted to tell everybody except my dad. Yeah. So my dad chased me off the property with an axe. That was a whole different story. So to go back to to touch on your friend's story and so I did spend a decade doing, let's just say I was a
You experimented.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely I
were a
healthy
chemist.
drug habit.
You were a chemist during a part of your life.
Yeah. And I'm glad I got my shit together like 13 years ago.
You really like pixie sticks.
But yes, there we go. The downside
that
of
can
that
go both ways.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ!
And it did.
Yes.
And it did.
And it did.
That's what we call a flip flop. So there's nothing wrong with that either. But when you get into that self-defeatist, closeted, it's that withdrawal point when you have to put, and I will use this term, you have to put your mask on, because how you are seen and perceived growing up during that time when you should be evolving and growing as a teenager and learning about who you want to be and what you want to be. Instead, you are so hardcore focused on maintaining this image that everybody else around you thinks that you should be, and that you are afraid to not be because there's nothing that you can control it with. And especially if you've got some, weird religious back end yelling at you, if God doesn't make mistakes, what the fuck is this? Eat a dick. Also, don't say that in youth group. There's a lot of truth in there that happened there.
Why not?
So
It makes it more interesting.
but when you come into the drug side of things, the dysfunction of already being altered in your mindset, you're already altered. There's no way to have a function relationship in an altered state. It's not possible. And I know because my ex and I were wonderful people together, but it was a dysfunctional, fucked up relationship. And now now that we're both sober, and I got to see him actually at PAX, which was interesting. It's a very different story.
That was a moment for you, because I remember after you were like, you were very happy afterwards, though. That was a good thing for you, though.
He's always been my perceived soulmate. I honestly think that he's somebody that shares an exceptional. Well, I definitely hate him. He was. Listen, he's how I proved that boys can't get pregnant. Yeah, I tried. The issue, of course, was that in my mindset, and still to this day, I still look back on that relationship through the lens of using, and I see the positives and I see the joy, and I also experience an amplified level of pain in the memories because it was so extreme, it was so powerful, and it was so damaging on both ends of the spectrum. And so for the first time, when we were at PAX West, I saw him. It was the first time I didn't feel a longing or a desire. I felt like I was finally just back with my buddy, with my best friend. Yeah. And it was the first time in 14 years that I've felt that. And I think that was one of those growth moments. Yep. Had I not been forced to stay in the closet as a kid, I would have evolved and developed all of those relationship tools, all of those questions would have been answered at that age, because that's when you're supposed to do all of this shit and figure it out. And I only say that because I think it's incredible that people are able to in this era. Because Puppy, I'm not sure how old you are. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 29.
Okay, so because I'm 46, I'll be 47 this year. Seeing the way that kids are coming out and the fact that that is becoming a more normal element in society to have a child who is a part of the LGBTQI plus community. And in a lot of cases, kids who are just not even assigning themselves into it, they're just like, they're fluid. And that fluidity is a sign that all of the fighting that we did when we were younger for the rights that we have today was worth the blood, sweat, the tears, and the drama. But yeah, that's my coming out story.
And here's the crazy thing about it. Just finding out Puppy's age too. 29, 39, and the back end of 40. Sorry, DJ. Look, I'm turning 40 this year, and I'm dreading it. Yeah, fuck you. But legitimately though, if you think about it, 3 different generations. You know what I mean? Like, we all grew up in different generations and how things were perceived, and because I mean, me and DJ grew up in the generation where our mom and dad would beat our ass. You know what I mean? Now it's completely frowned upon. Like, I remember when my dad would pull off the belt and whoop my ass. I mean, my dad literally had a wooden paddle with holes. He was a carpenter. Oh yeah, for wind restriction.
So you got faster movement.
You know what I mean? But like
circular
now,
welts on your ass.
Don't get me excited.
Yeah,
okay?
well, look, sorry, look. Hey, look. But yeah, like even my daughter's pan, and so like the way like she told us was so nonchalant. Like, she was just like, yeah, I'm pan. And we're like, okay, cool. Like, and that was pretty much it. And and that's just the way it is. I feel like now we just need to wait for all these old white jackasses just to fucking die off. I'm sorry. I'll say it. They all just need to just fucking disappear and croak and go away. And then the second that happens, this next generation of human beings is going to be really amazing. I like my daughter's generation. Yeah, she's 14. Like that generation is our future, because they talk. like so casually about, yeah, I'm gay, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm pan.
Yep.
It's
It
just
does
like
not matter
regular,
to them.
they
because
don't give a shit.
it's not that should not be like our like number one thing about ourselves. Like
Yeah.
I see a
Bingo!
lot of
Thank
I
you.
see I see a lot of like the gay TV shows or like the movie Bros that just came out, and which Bros is a good movie. You should definitely go see it. It's
Oh,
funny
yeah.
as hell. But initially, like watching the trailer and stuff, I'm like, oh great, here's like another movie that is just going to like be like gay is the only thing, right?
Yeah.
And so like I I like what you were saying, like how we just talk about it nonchalantly, like pup play, like normalize it because it should be normal. It shouldn't be like the number one factor about like someone's personality. It doesn't make up their whole entire person. A gay person can be a doctor, a lawyer, like a gamer. Like it's not the number one thing about a person.
I like comparing
And
it to sports in a sense. You know what I
You're
mean?
either a pitcher or a catcher.
Well, that too. but also, I mean, hope to God you're not a kicker. Otherwise, you know. But just in general.
I don't know. Is that a new term?
Yeah, maybe. We just invented it right now. But
Is there
just
such a
in
thing
general,
as
though, if
footing?
you think about it, though, how many different teams there are, right?
Oh.
And how many different
Yeah.
teams there are? Everybody, you know, different types of sports. Everybody talks about it casually. Nobody gives, oh, do you like baseball? You like football? You like soccer? All right, cool, right? Nobody gives a shit. That's how it's going to be normalized, where it's just going to be oh, cool, yeah, sweet, all right,
Guess
hang out
what?
with that
Because they're
community.
all
right,
they're
sweet.
all athletes.
Yeah.
They're all athletes, and we are all humans.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yep.
Yep. It's a thing.
It's just general conversation, and that's the way it needs to be. You know, not like, oh, this movie's about a gay couple. It's like, no, who gives a shit? It's just like that shouldn't be the focus ever.
There was actually a trailer that just came out. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it's like this scary movie. I think it's coming out in February or March.
Smile?
No, not Smile, because it's coming out later. Smile just
Okay.
came out.
Okay.
But it was a trailer, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And it's like panning. There's this couple in the car, and they have like a child in the back, and then you're like realize that the couple is like two guys, and like I'm like, wait, what? Like, wait, hold on. And that's the kind of movie that I want. That's the kind of like where there's a normal situation. This is a scary movie, like this normal like whatever movie, and then you're like, oh, the two main characters are a gay couple. Cool.
Well, and I think
I'm like,
religion,
whoa.
Right.
Well, I think religion is going to be the only setback for the LGBTQ plus community. Always will be. You know why? Because literally it's against their moral principles, and you know, Jesus said so, and you know, and you know, it's a prime example even in movies. Like certain movies aren't released in certain countries, you know, because they have gay scenes in them, or like, you remember the whole fucking thing with even like, I don't know how big of a Marvel fan you are, but just in general, like when those characters come out, or they're labeled as a lesbian or a gay couple or two men together, like how the rest of the world, like how the box office numbers dip because that whole part of the world doesn't believe in it. You know, I think we're still, you know, a couple hundred years out before it's just completely normalized. And I mean, as sad as that may be, but I feel like humans evolve and you can even see it in everyday society. Like it's getting to a point where it's just like, cool, let's go have some tequila shots and fucking have some fun. Who gives a fuck?
We don't give a shit. Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the way it needs to be. Like, who gives a fuck what other people do? You know what I mean? Like, just let people live their lives, enjoy who they want to be with, and just be good people.
Well, I mean,
like,
that's
really
that's a funny thing. Like sometimes I even like when I do run across people, like because I'll like wear my pup hood out, I'll walk to bar because I may be working this brunch and then have to go over here and dance.
Yeah.
And then I'll run across groups of people. Granted, I'm in like the neighborhood of Seattle area, the Capitol Hill, but then I'll run across people that are like, take your fucking mask off, or yelling at me, or like whether they're straight or gay. And I'm just like very like, I'm not mad. I'm not angry. Like, it's your opinion. And I'm very neutral in that aspect. I don't care what your opinion is. I can still get along with you. Like, however, like what is this hatred, or how do you go out of your way to like put yourself into a space, into someone else's life, to tell them to like, oh, you shouldn't be gay, oh, you shouldn't wear this, Like, what?
Oil and water.
How does that?
Oil and water. That's
Okay.
the best way I
I
can
would
describe
never
it.
do that to someone.
Yeah,
like, I just
it's,
don't
there's certain
understand
people
how...
that are just raised that way that are just trained to be hateful.
I have got to intersect here because there are times when that is thoroughly appropriate. If I'm wearing a sweater that is absolutely makes me look fat, you had better goddamn tell me that shit looks terrible. Take it off. You're not going out like that.
Well, yeah, but those are your friends, right? Like, I'm like I just
kidding,
don't get like how people can like I
Toxically go into your
literally do
bubble.
not get it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like
I don't get it.
I don't know you. You don't know me. Nothing that I do is going to affect your life. So what about this makes it okay? Or like is something that you need to do? Like you need to come over here and interject.
Yeah.
Well, as long as the
I will-
puppy
I have a
does not
response
have
that-
rabies, you are fine.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Had my shots.
That needs to be a shirt, by the way.
It does.
the other thing that is a great response to anything like that, and I've used to yell this at people when they would see my boyfriend and I at the time holding hands because he was younger than I was. Is your high school football career go that poorly, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
And that is
Oh,
literally
them up.
99% of them are just asshole ex-athletes whose dreams never died.
And then you go back
Anyway.
if you go back to the high school reunion, they're big, fat, single, and are completely bald and have not achieved shit in their life, and they're just angry assholes. I mean, that's just the fucking truth of it. Like,
Yeah.
Except for the
'cause
drama
I
kids,
played
the-
football, dude. Every
the
single
kids who were
person
in
that I
drama
knew
were all
that was
good.
like that in high school now is in like their third marriage, has 12 kids, like hates life, and just is a total d-bag.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what? Good. Fuck them.
anything
That's
past
the way I
6
look at it.
kids, I would not be able to survive.
Ironically,
I have one kid, you know,
the family
and
that I
I'm like,
nannied.
I love my kid,
Yeah.
but you know,
The
like
family
people
that I
have, like, 12
nannied
kids.
for had 6 kids. That was before the accident. That was a lot to handle. They were
Well,
like ages 1.5 to 15,
yeah.
and it was bizarre.
Well, that
but
was
awesome.
even-
I love. They were good kids though. They were
Well,
great.
you know,
kids.
even
That's
with my
outside.
story earlier with my friend who passed away, like, like I said, he was in a Mormon family.
Mhm.
There was 8 siblings, including him, and he was the oldest. So he
Oh,
was
yikes.
he was the problem child because
The
you know
oldest is always the
the
experiment,
oldest is
too.
always the one that is the experiment. And then by you get to the youngest one, they're spoiled fucking rotten. But it's yeah, even that, like the civil rivalry, you know, it's like,
Well,
you know,
yeah,
who's better than
he
who,
had-
and then you got to live up to that expectation too, and it's just like, you know,
He had siblings, he had his family, he had religion,
he had
a
everything
community.
after him.
Like-
he had a
Like,
lot
all
of
of
bad
those
stuff.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those are 4 major things. Like you lose your community, who do you have? Your family. Well, you don't have your parents, and now you don't even have your siblings because
That's why
your
I make my
siblings
own
are also
family,
under
because
the
fuck
religion.
people.
Exactly. Yes.
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 Because
So-
I straight up will say this time and time again, like I have made my family over the years. I have good people around me that believe in me, that respect me, and we respect each other. And I don't give a shit what you're into, what you do, who you do. Like if you want to enjoy yourself, if you want to spend $5,000 on a furry suit and it looks badass, I'm gonna be like, dude, that shit's dope. Like,
Listen,
you know
don't
what I
mess
mean?
with
Yeah.
the furry community. Like I'm telling you right now, they have money.
Yeah, dude,
they
it's
have-
crazy how
like,
much money they spend on those
It is insane.
the furry outfits. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, it's crazy.
I will say one thing in the final lengths of this. So the one thing that I was definitely terrified of, and I think it's because of how, traumatizing childhood might have been, I never officially was out on my stream when I was on Mixer until PAX West of 2018.
Yep.
And
I
I mean,
remember.
it wasn't that I feigned being straight. It's just I never brought the shit up. It didn't matter. And it was an issue, but I did not want that to be the platform for my content.
Yep.
I did not want to have to bank off of my DEI status.
It's when you rebranded that you really started pushing it,
Well,
which I was proud
and then-
of you when you did that.
Well, and they asked me if I would chair the panel, the diversity panel. And I said, all right, well, if we're going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way out, because this is not just about the LGBTQI plus. We need people of color on there. We need both men, both women. We need people who are not necessarily identifying as either. And it needs to be a full panel. and we did it. And I came out on the stage at PAX in front of, I don't know, we had like 9,000 people watching. It was bizarre. And it was interesting because I don't know what the hell I was afraid of. And it reminded me once again that I'm just repeating previous traumas at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's made it a lot easier to be able to be vocal about certain different things.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had so far, just from my community alone, we have had 40 or 50 people come out over the years. And it's been wonderful.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
It's wonderful to know that we've got an environment where it doesn't, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So
even in my community, like people, the fact that they feel comfortable that they can do that and just be themselves, that makes me happy. Because like, oh, I'm just the white guy, the single white guy, married, I have kids, like, and they're like, well, like, I don't want to oppose. Like, I've actually had people DM me and be like, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm gay. And I'm like, okay, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Be you, I don't give a fuck. Just let's play some video games. Like, who gives a shit?
Exactly. Start yelling at them.
Yeah,
just be like,
I do. I yell at them. I'm like, shut the fuck up and just play some games. Who
Yeah,
cares?
exactly. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like we're
Stop
playing
being in
Fortnite.
your
We're
own
not
head.
trying to
Yeah.
sleep together. Like, come on.
Yeah, right.
Bingo.
I mean, I am pretty, but I mean,
I will say this. One of my favorite stories of coming out stories is from one of my community members who shall remain nameless, but I know he won't care anyways. He said, okay, I'm going to tell my parents, and I hope this goes well, because he was mostly afraid of his dad. And, I made sure that do you have a place to go? Do you have a friend's house you can go stay at for a week or two until things calm down? Like, plan for the worst, because
hope for the best.
Yeah. And he walked in, parents were in the kitchen, and his mom said, will you set the table? And he said, Mom, Dad, I'm gay, and I have been forever. And they stopped and looked at him and said, does this mean you're not setting the table?
Yes.
And he said,
okay, I would give those parents a hug. What?
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
And he said no and started setting the table. And his dad said, what afternoons are you free? Do you not have sports and stuff? And so he named the day, and he said, okay. And he immediately set up family counseling so that they could work through it, because they were like, what we don't want is to have this be a negative experience. We weren't planning or prepared for it, but at the same time, now that it's here, we want to make sure we're doing this in a way that is as functionally proactive as possible. We want to advocate for our kid. And It was interesting because I got a chance to talk to them, because they were like, what brought you to come out? And he said, well, DJ did. And I actually got to meet them at DreamHack in 2017, DreamHack Atlanta. Yeah. Which was the coolest thing ever, because I didn't realize they were going to be there. And so
you know what?
It was kind of neat.
It takes two straight, well, unless you adopt, it takes two straight people to make a gay. So at the end of the day, it's their fault if they hate it.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
I'm just saying, like, you know what? Like, and at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? They're your kid. You're supposed to love them no matter what. You brought them into this world. And if you don't, then you're a fucking shitty parent, and go hit your head into a wall.
Speaking of parents, if you're watching this or listening and you're a parent with an LGBTQI plus child and you would like some assistance or aid in how to handle it, how to treat them, and also how to possibly look at the situation from a different light, there's an organization called PFLAG, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. You can find more out at pflag.org. And if you're looking at coming out, or you have questions about the process and you need some support, you can head on over to PFLAG as well. You can also go to takethis.org and trevorproject.org.
Yes.
All those links will be down below.
And you can also come out with us and have drinks.
Yes, if you're 21.
If you're 21.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Or you have an ID.
So final thoughts, gentlemen.
I'm not asking questions.
Yeah, right? I'm actually upset that we didn't hang out when I was at PAX. Or Twitch. Or TwitchCon. I don't even know why. I think I was really hammered on Friday, though.
You were fucked.
That Tiltify party, yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I was, but not as bad as Poe, though. Poe puked in Zeke's hand, and puked in the hallway, and puked in the elevator, and puked in the trash can, and puked on the street, and
they had to shampoo the carpets outside
They had to shampoo
their
the
room.
carpet outside of our door. He puked all over the floor right outside our door. And it was funny because everybody was drunk, so we stepped over it. And then the next morning, we walked outside and we forgot that he puked out because we were all drunk. And we walked out and it was just like, oh, God.
Oh, that smell.
And then,
Yeah.
and then we went back in.
That's right.
We got ready.
Yeah. Ugh.
And then all of a sudden, like the cleaning lady, all of a sudden we heard like a shampooer outside the door. And we're like, don't make any noise. We don't want them to know it's
Right,
us.
just stay quiet.
And then Goose was like, it was the guys by the stairs. They were going down the stairs and they projectile vomited. But like we stayed out of elevator 1 for the rest of the trip. At least we tried to anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we partied hard that night. That was a good night.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna cover TwitchCon next time on our next one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
this was a really good conversation. To be honest,
it was good. It was definitely good. Seeing from different perspectives too, and also from different parts of the community, and it's just it you know, like at the end of the day, you know, we all like games, we all like sports, we're just fucking people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't. Just be human, be a good person. That's all that matters.
So, Poppy, where can everybody find you on which platforms?
Oh, everywhere. Just look for iPuppy_TTV. If you're on social media, if you're looking at Twitch, just iPuppy__. That's me. You can find me there probably literally every single day of the week. I'm producing some kind of content. So
nice. Drake, how about you?
The Lost Drake across the board, everywhere. Yep, and yep.
Awesome. And you can find me, DJBLUEPDX, at all of the things, and you can find all the things and stuff. You can also check out our podcast, available now on Amazon, iTunes. It's all through Anchor and Spotify. Everywhere. You can check out our YouTube channel, which is about to get partnered. So make sure you go back and catch up on all your latest episodes. We're this close, and we got to get that in by the end of the year.
400 watch hours, guys. We got 2 months to hit it. We've got this.
Yes.
Like we'll fucking get that check mark. I'm determined.
And of course, if you have questions, once again, about coming out, or if you are experiencing a situation where you need assistance in order to come out, please reach out to the resources that we've listed below. That is takethis.org, the Trevor Project, and pflag.org. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.